Hey everyone, Rarity Dash here. Time for another Patreon-sponsored blind reaction. And this one comes to you courtesy of Super Monoman, who has requested that I react to What's in a Fight? My Hero Academia Stain vs. Deku, Iida and Todoroki by Mother's Basement. So yeah, another What's in a Fight video. I watched the Deku vs. Todoroki one before, and it was pretty cool. Nice breakdown of the fight. And now we got another memorable My Hero fight being broken down here, and that's the Stain fight, which, yeah, definitely a good one. Stain as a character was really cool. Definitely one of my favorite My Hero villains that we've had so far. At least to the point that I've seen. I know there's a lot of Season 4 out at this point that I haven't seen yet, but yeah, from the first 3 seasons that I have seen, Stain, definitely one of my favorites as far as villains go, and his fight was really cool. And yeah, I'm interested to see Mother's Basement break it down here, and hopefully it's a good video. Let's get started and find out. Here we go.
The second season of My Hero Academia was a wild ride, elevating the series from a decent yet slow-paced shonen power fantasy into one of the best, most exciting shows of the last decade. With a 24-episode
pretty accurate
of laughs and tears, 2 fantastic openings, click the eye to learn more about those, and a roster full of best girls, oh hey, there's one of them now, it gave us a lot to love. As
all about the best girls.
Series, Hiroaka naturally lives and dies on the strength of its battles. One really incredible fight is usually all it takes for a series like this to earn at least a cult following, but Hero Academia went beyond plus ultra in this department. Every fight this
all about that
season
plus
is
ultra.
Strong and memorable in its own right, and the show has not just 1 but 3 solid contenders for best fight of the year. I'll be picking apart both
some of those tournament fights are actually pretty
exam arc down the line, but today I'd like to focus
not much
on
to
the
them.
Fight with Stain from the Hero Intern arc, because it features some really incredible fight choreography and animation, and because it marks a major turning point for several characters
Stain
and the world of Hiroaka as a whole.
Stain definitely left an
about
impact.
How Stain fights, my buddies over at Wisecrack have put together a fantastic video about why he fights, delving into the philosophy of what it means to be a hero. Their whole channel is full of insightful videos about anime and Western films alike, so you're gonna want to check them out once this video is over. If you're not caught up on My Hero Academia, well, let's be real, you are caught up, and I'll spare you the full series.
I'm not actually.
Quick refresher,
but I'm caught to this point. That's what's important.
Following the battle tournament at the UA Sports Festival, Deku and his classmates are recruited by various hero agencies around Japan to train out in the field. Deku
I love that
goes
Kyoka
to
got that
train
little
under
moment.
Gran Torino, an
great,
old retired hero
thing.
who was once All Might's mentor. And there he finally begins learning to properly control the immense power of One for All, which he could previously only use in bursts, usually breaking a limb in the process. While this is happening, a villain known as the Hero Killer Stain is on the loose in the Hosu ward of Tokyo, killing heroes.
Yeah.
I don't know what I expected.
In his homepage, the killer paralyzes a hero named Ingenium, the older brother of Deku's classmate, Tenya Iida. Consumed with thoughts of revenge, Iida accepts an
they probably would say it Ingenium
and
in
begins
Japanese.
Searching the city for Stain. Amid the chaos of a monster attack led by the League of Villains, he finds him, and he's woefully underprepared for the fight. When their train is attacked by a Nomu, Gran Torino and Deku enter the fray. Deku, noticing that Iida is missing from the heroes defending the city, and realizing this means he must have gone after Stain, runs off to find his friend before the hero killer can claim his life. Since the fight is spread out across 3 episodes with a lot going on around it, we're going to mainly focus on just what happens in the alleyway. When Iida finds Stain in the middle of killing the pro-hero native, the villain initially doesn't pay him any mind, seeing him as a child. But once Iida reveals that he's there solely to avenge his brother and declares, Stain's response is short and to the point. Stain's goal is to kill the money-grubbing, glory-chasing heroes he sees as perverting the heroic ideal set by All Might, and with the naked pride and anger in this declaration, Iida has marked himself as a target. The killer dodges his second kick easily, taunting him and his brother for being weak fakes as he cuts him down. Iida defends the example his brother set as a hero and tells Stain that he'll kill him. Stain responds to this empty threat by simply lecturing the kid on what a real hero would do in this this situation. Save Native before trying to take him down. According to Stain, true heroes put others first and never use their powers for their own gain. This line handily explains both why he feels Iida and heroes like him need to die, and why he chooses to carry out those executions himself. As someone who looks up to the heroic ideals of All Might, Stain would probably be happier saving other people, but in his twisted mindset, he thinks that he can do more good for the world by threatening other heroes into following his ideals. With his sword hitting the young speedster to the ground, he says, and he may as well drop a mic right there, because that's way deeper than his swords have, at least up to this point. But he aims to correct that, ingesting Iida's blood in order to paralyze him using his quirk Blood Curdle, then lining up a finishing blow. Fortunately, his little monologue created just enough time for Deku to find him, charge forward, and sock the killer in the jaw, saving his friend's life. Seeing that there are two people in danger, more than he can carry away on his own, Deku makes a snap decision to text his location to his classmates and stand and fight, stalling for time until help arrives. Iida tells him to run since the fight has nothing to do with him, but Deku also responds to that with a lecture on what it means to be a hero. This makes Stain smile, and in this moment he decides
Gotta love that smile.
to kill Deku. By saying this and standing his ground, despite the clear fear in his eyes, and
Stain just has such a
attack to prove he's not
memorable look to
Deku
him.
has proven that he strives for the same
great
ideal
design.
as Stain. He's exactly the kind of true hero that Stain hopes to create through killing, so it's worth letting him live. With Stain now trying to secure a kill without hurting Deku, this is where the real battle begins. Deku leaps at Stain, who analyzes his battle strategy as he moves. By closing in, Deku limits the effectiveness of Stain's ranged weapon. This makes it clear that both Deku and Stain are thinkers, and by having Stain evaluate Deku's decisions while Deku reacts, we can see that the experienced killer is a step ahead of his opponent, until he's not. Borrowing a move from Bakugo, Deku leaps out of Stain's field of view after getting behind him, then delivers a devastating blow to his head. Considering that the super speedy Iida couldn't slip past Stain's defenses, this is pretty damn impressive. Unfortunately, with Deku trying to control his power output, his Detroit Smash isn't strong enough to stop the villain, who manages to paralyze him with a tiny cut. Seeing this does allow Deku to figure out how his power works, however, and while he's incapacitated, the cavalry arrives just in time as Todoroki sends the killer back with a burst of flame, then creates an ice wall to move everyone else to safety. He then informs everyone that the pros will be there in a few minutes, which puts further pressure on Stain. At its core, this fight is all about time. Stain is battling the clock from the second it starts, first while Deku rushes to find and save Iida, then as he stalls, waiting for one of his friends to show up in response to his text. Once Todoroki arrives, all the young heroes need to do is buy a bit more time until the pros show up, though how long it will
we
take
also have
with
the
the
time
Nomus
limits
attacking the city is anyone's guess.
for his
Inside this bigger time limit, Stain's power creates smaller countdowns by temporarily taking the students out of commission. As we learn shortly, due to his blood type, Deku can return to the fray pretty quickly when he's cut, but every time he's paralyzed, it puts them at a disadvantage until he can recover. Iida regaining his movement gives them a bit of an edge, but if he or Todoroki get caught again, their chances of success suddenly dwindle to nothing. This creates a pretty low bar for the kids to succeed in their first fight against a major villain, since they don't need to actually beat him on their own. But it also adds a great deal of tension to the fight. Unlike the minor villains who attacked UA in the first season, Stain is a force to be reckoned with, having killed dozens of pros already, and a single mistake could cost Native or Iida their lives. As the timer runs down on Stain, he only gets more desperate and violent, which makes him even more dangerous, but also creates an opening as he forgets Deku's recovery time. Watching for the right opportunity, Deku leaps to attack simultaneously with Iida, and their combined might is enough enough to line him up for a final blow from Todoroki at last.
This fight was really good.
The timer and the knowledge that help will arrive soon creates an expectation in the audience that's subverted in this moment. Instead of being saved as we expect, the kids manage to win the fight themselves, which comes as a genuine surprise. And the time limit is also the mechanic that allows this win to happen, backing Stain into a corner so that he makes a mistake. It's a really brilliant bit of plotting. But that's far from the only thing about this fight that's brilliant. The big action moments, like Stain bursting through Todoroki's ice, using Recipro Burst to stop his blade, and the two final attacks against him are all animated with an incredible amount of kinetic energy and style. I'd love to do a full Sakuga breakdown on all of the cuts in this fight, but it would probably take me about an hour to get through all of them. Beyond just looking pretty, the action in this scene is written really smartly, playing up each character's individual strengths and methods of fighting. Deku's quick analytical mind is given plenty of chances to shine here. He finds Iida in the first place by analyzing the hero killer's past behavior, and when the fight begins, he concocts and executes on clever tactics on the fly. It's Deku who deduces exactly how Stain's powers work, both figuring out that he needs to ingest blood to activate them, and that his quirk has different time limits based on blood type. He floats two other equally likely possibilities with his limit, but at that point in the fight, he's earned enough of the villain's respect that Stain confirms his theory. The only thing holding Deku back from stopping this villain on his own is a lack of experience using his powers. He just doesn't have the physical ability he needs to close out the fight without help. However, he recognizes this by the end of the fight and bides his time once he recovers in order to strike at the right moment, rather than leaping back into the fray immediately. While he's not quite as quick or clever as Deku, Stain is also a methodical and tricky fighter, analyzing the movements of his opponents in order to create openings for attack. In his attack on Todoroki, he catches him off guard by throwing a knife, closes in to attack with his short blade, and throws his sword up in the air as a follow-up. But then he draws attention to the sword in order to distract Todoroki, also that he can execute his real attack and creepily lick Todoroki's cut in order to immobilize him. It's quite a complex plan.
I never even thought about that.
And it leaves us in the same
great
place
stuff.
as the heroes, following what's happening, but taking a second to fully grasp what's going on. Todoroki counters this with his own specialty, quick reflexes and overwhelming force. A blast of flame and ice is enough to keep Stain back, but that's really all that he can do. While he can track the villain's movements and even spot when he begins slipping, he's not capable of outthinking or outmaneuvering him, at least not on his own, and he doesn't have enough control of his powers to close out the fight. Iida is on the other end of the spectrum from Deku. His fighting is driven less by thought and more by emotion and instinct. He shows awareness of his own limitations by asking Todoroki to cool his leg so that he can use his burst one more time, but this doesn't extend to his tactics. He simply charges in whenever he's able to, using his immense speed and power to overwhelm Stain. It's down to his allies to plan around his actions. The clash of different fighting styles creates a lot of interesting dynamics in this fight, but great fights aren't just about cool choreography and interesting strategies. As I said in my Shokugeki no Soma video, the most important thing is what the fight means to each of the characters involved. And this is an important point in the growth of all four of these characters. For Iida, this fight is a hard lesson in what he's doing wrong as a hero, as well as a chance for redemption. Stain brutalizes him as a punishment for becoming obsessed with revenge, while both Deku and Todoroki show examples of how he can be better. While he wallows in despair a bit after being cut down and having his morals eviscerated, accepting that he doesn't deserve to call himself a hero, by the time he recovers, he also finds his resolve. Even if he isn't worthy of being a hero right now, he has to try to be anyway, because otherwise the name of the hero Ingenium dies. Even the setting of the fight helps to emphasize this conflict. The narrow alleyway represents how Iida's focus on revenge has limited his field of view and made it so that he can no longer see what's important. Stain is, for the most part, essentially right in his view of what a hero should be, and his admonishment of Iida for falling away from that ideal. It's mainly his methods that make him a villain, not his ideas, but when Iida stands back up to fight, Stain exposes the one fatal misconception in his worldview. He believes that bad people can't change on their own, which is why he tries to kill fake heroes instead of inspiring them like All Might and Deku do. But as an audience, we know that he's wrong, because we know that Deku has already change someone whose heroic ideals have been clouded by resentment. A few words from Deku saved Todoroki, and now together they can save Iida from himself. Of course, Todoroki is only able to help in the first place because Deku helped him. He wouldn't be in Hosu City at all if he hadn't been able to cast his
That's very true.
and join his father's agency. And he'd be much less effective in the fight if he was still refusing to use his fire powers. This also highlights the nifty way that Hiroaka powers up its characters. Instead of just giving them random new abilities out of the blue like most other shonen anime do, it has them
they get new abilities eventually
to better utilize their existing abilities, or get over mental hang-ups that were holding them back. Case in point, Deku's new ability that he uses in this fight, One for All Full Cowl, which comes not from Guru,
Super Kami Guru,
Super Kami Guru putting it on his forehead, but Deku shifting his understanding of what
DBZ
One for All
abridged
is and how he can apply it. Instead of letting it out in a burst, he tries letting the power fill his entire body, which allows him to move more quickly and perform greater feats of strength. For him, this fight is the first test of his new power. It's also a test of his ability to succeed All Might. Widespread recognition is a long way off for him, but in the small world of this alleyway, for everyone involved in the fight, Deku serves as the symbol of peace. That even includes Stain, as for him, this fight ends up being a final challenge to his flawed ideology. Because he is wrong about fakes like Iida and the old Todoroki, he ends up losing the fight, but he's not entirely wrong since he's only defeated because of how Deku has influenced them. Deku ultimately represents a more pure and correct iteration of Stain's own ideals. Stain puts up a hell of a fight in order to prove himself right though, and every action he takes reflects his mentality, right down to the panic at the end that ultimately results in his defeat. Even the nature of Stain's powers represent his ideals, at least if you buy into blood type personality theory. His quirk is most effective against type Bs, who are said to be the most selfish and lazy kind of people, followed by type AB individuals whose worst traits include being indecisive and two-faced. All of those traits go against Stain's view of what a hero should be. He's less effective against type A heroes like Iida, who is reserved and earnest, though also, as we see here, obsessive and stubborn. And Stain is least effective against Deku's type O blood, which is associated with confidence, ambition, and self-determination, things that Stain wants to see in other heroes. As the universal donor, type O blood is also generally associated with generosity. So Stain's power gives him a greater advantage against exactly the kind of people he wants to kill, while being weak against the kind of hero that he wants to see stop him. Kinda serendipitous, that. Deku's style of heroism wins out in the end, and Stain is seemingly defeated, but after they tie Stain up and drag him out of the alleyway, an injured Deku ends up being grabbed by a stray flying Nomu that got away from the pros. Just as his fate seems to be sealed, however, Stain escapes his bonds and charges forward to save Deku, paralyzing the Nomu by licking the blood off another hero's cheek. By doing this, Stain shows that he recognizes Deku as a true hero, worthy of not just being allowed to live, but of active protection. But after this act of heroism, he turns to face all of the heroes who have arrived, willing to take them all on. And the sheer pressure of his killing intent is enough to stop all of them in their tracks. Even Endeavor is afraid. Fortunately, before the fight can be dragged out for another 3 episodes, Stain passes out on his feet as one of his broken ribs punctures his lung. It took a bit of extra time, but the kid's efforts did manage to take him down after all. This fight results in permanent emotional and physical changes for all of the kids involved. And after his arrest, Stain's philosophy will have an even wider reaching impact on the world of Hiroaka at large, but we can talk about future arcs later on. If you want to hear someone really dive into the nuances of Stain's character and his impact on the series right now, then you've got to give Wisecrack's new video a watch. And once you're done with that, I can't recommend highly enough that you check out the rest of their anime philosophy videos, especially the ones on FMA and Death Note. Wisecrack is one of the smartest and funniest channels on YouTube, and if you're not watching them already, you owe it to yourself to change that. You also owe it to yourself to give My
Never
Hero
heard of them
Academia
before, but
a binge watch if you've somehow watched all of this without having seen it. The whole whole series is up on Crunchyroll, and you
Probably
can watch
good
it
stuff.
free with a 14-day free trial by going to crunchyroll.com/basement. Consider watching it homework, because I'll definitely be coming back to look at other fights from the show soon, though maybe in a slightly different format. In light of that, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell in order to catch those analysis videos and everything else I make when those videos go live. And if you want to help me make them, consider supporting me on Patreon like these beautiful human beings. Now that we're at the end card, I'll remind you one last time to check out Wisecrack's video on the philosophy of My Hero Academia by clicking here. Or you can click here to see me analyze the show's opening.
Plug it 3
and
times.
don't forget to check out all of the other wonderful anime and film analysis videos on both my channel and Wisecrack over here. I'm Jeff Thu, professional shitbag, signing out from my mother's basement.
All right, well, there we go. That was, again, a very, really pretty down of that fight, which I'm glad to revisit, because it is a really good one. I mean, there's a lot of excellent action, and just the emotions are just right, and the thought that goes into the actual action is very good. Like, I didn't even really fully, I mean, when you watch it, it's really engaging, but I hadn't really even thought through like what Stain did with that whole move on Todoroki, just how complicated that was, because it is just all in a moment, and when you really think it through, it's pretty brilliant. It didn't work because Todoroki has his his really OP quirk, but I mean, it almost did, and that would have made the fight go in a very different direction if they took Todoroki out for any amount of time. Yeah, that was really an impressive fight, and it makes me really want to get back into My Hero. Which, if you're wondering, I mean, I get this question all the time. The plan for season 4 is I'm going to react to it after Shield Hero, which I still have. I'm not really sure how many, but I still have a few episodes of Shield Hero left. I don't know how many. I thought I had the episode list up or something, but I guess I don't. Oh no, there it is. I think I got like 10 episodes left, so it's still going to be a while, or 9. So, but especially since I am going 1 episode a week now. But yeah, I guess in 9 weeks or 10 weeks I'll be doing My Hero. So look forward to that. And yeah, it should be great. I've heard good things about season 4, and I'm really looking forward to getting into it. And yeah, good to get a bit of My Hero content on the channel, even in between before I get to season 4. Anyway, hope you liked the reaction. Let me know if you did, and see you in the next one.